Good
Morning,
morning.
Senator.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning,
Great
Senator.
to have you here.
All right. So, Senator, thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Tiffany Stevens. I'm one of your constituents. I'm also an Indivisible Nob Hill board member, and we have gathered here today to have a discussion with you. And so we first wanted to congratulate you on soon to be elect pro tem, and what a wonderful honor it is to have you. I know you've been elected for your 26th year. You started out in the House of Representatives, and you've gone to the Senate, and now you're going to be our pro tem, and we're very honored to have you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's just kind of daunting these days. I feel like I'm drinking from the fire hose, but it will calm down, I guess, hopefully.
So I'm going to introduce our co-host that we have with us this morning. We have Ray Ellen with us. Ray Ellen.
Good morning, Senator. I'm Ray Ellen Smith. I'm the president of Indivisible Nob Hill. I'm also an SCC member and on the Budget and Finance Committee. And I'm also the treasurer for the county party.
You're busy.
Yes.
We have Esther with us. Esther, you're on mute.
Sorry. Good morning, Senator. My name is Esther Griego. I'm a new constituent of yours, just moved to this area, and I am also a member of Retake, a member of Albuquerque Interfaith, and a board member of the Health Security Campaign.
All right. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
We also have Pete with us today. He's going to help me co-host. Pete, you're on mute.
You're good at this, Tiffany.
Thank you. Let's see if we can help Pete out.
Pete, try pressing your space bar to unmute.
Well,
Now,
There you go, Pete. You should be
okay,
good.
sorry, pardon me, Senator. I'm Pete Belletto. I'm vice president for the Southeast Heights Neighborhood Association. I'm a board member for Independent Nob Hill, ward chair for 19C, and president of District 6. Good morning.
Good morning.
we have one more co-host that we're hoping is able to make us this morning, Colton Dean, who is the ward chair here in 19B. So we're hoping that he is on the way.
I'm here.
Yeah, he was here.
I'm sorry, Colton. Hi.
Good morning. Good morning, Senator. My name is Colton Dean. I'm the ward chair for 19B, which has eight of our precincts are in your district. I'm also an SCC member and a member of Indivisible Nob Hill. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
I'd also like to point out that Nancy Pierce is here with us today. She is the Bernalillo County Treasurer, and we're really fortunate to have her in our Senate district also, Senator. So Nancy, can you say hi?
Hi, everybody. Nancy Bursch, your favorite tax collector and precinct chair in Ward 19B, SCC member. Gosh, I'm a member of a lot of your groups, officially and unofficially. So it's good to see everybody. And of course, Senator Stewart is my senator. Good morning, Senator.
Good to see you, Nancy. Good to see you. And I got my check in. It was 2 days late. I know I'm gonna have to pay some little pittance, but happy to do that.
We appreciate your payment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nancy. Senator, I wanted to give you some time if you want to introduce yourself, talk about some news or updates that might be going on. I know that you're extremely busy at this time, so we're very fortunate to have this time with you this morning. Is there some news or updates that you'd like to share with us?
Well, you know, I'll just tell you that we're really very excited about our 7 new senators. They're just amazing. I wish there would have been 8 and Claudia would have been part of that. Very disappointed about her race. So the caucus feels very different with these new members, and the exit of the old, very conservative senators. It just feels very different. We're very hopeful. We do think that we have a window now that we should take advantage of with this new caucus to do things we have not been able to pass before. So we have organized ourselves since the election for pro tem. We have these 7 little work groups that are trying to gather the bills we're looking at. I'm pretty sure that most of your bills are on our lists. So these are internal work groups where we're trying to prioritize in 7 areas right at the beginning: COVID, health-related issues, education, broadband, cannabis, uh, um, tax reform. I always miss a few, climate and conservation. So each of those work groups, in fact, we have a caucus tonight where we're going to talk about the results of those. Because the session will be so different, we have to really try to prioritize what we're going to pass. We're going to be on the floor less than half of the time that we usually are. We're going to have all committees be virtual. We're going to move from WebEx, which has been difficult to take public comment on, totally to Zoom, which is much easier to take public comment on. So we're just meeting all the time. We're just meeting once a week from now until the session, it seems. At least this week, we don't have a meeting. So we've been just working a lot and trying to prepare and do our legislative duties January 19th through March 20th. And that's going to be difficult, but we're still organizing around what kind of rules to make. Complete masks. If you don't have a mask, you're not allowed on the floor. So I could go on, but that gives you a flavor a little bit. And also I've had to do this Herculean task of trying to put chairs and vice chairs and committees together. I am almost done with that. I feel like I've been able to put these new people on committees they want, and very glad about that. So I'll stop talking and we can have a dialogue.
Thank you, Senator. I think I would miss the opportunity if I didn't ask. Can you share any of those appointments that you might be making?
No, I'm not even sharing them yet with my colleagues. A couple of people that are going to be chairs I've talked to, because we want to make some name changes. We just want to get rid of that name corporations in that committee. So we're trying to figure out what to do about a few things, but I'm not really going to release this until I'm actually pro tem. I can't really do it. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Senator. And thank you for kind of outlining for us how you see this session going out as far as the virtual means by using Zoom and what structure you could be using. And, you know, we know that you're sponsoring 2 bills that are also on our priority list. Strategic Plan for a Sustainable Economy and also the Environmental Database Act. And, you know, if there's anything that we can do here today to help you to ensure that those 2 bills get passed in the next session, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. That's one of the things that we wanted to really start with this morning, is that we're here to build a relationship and a coalition with you. And that if there's ways that we can help push bills forward, please reach out to us, text, by call, we will make it happen.
Well, just to advocate for, I think the data bill is not going to have any trouble It's the other one. It's the economic just transition. I'm glad you have Tom Solomon on here. He's really been the main architect of that with me. I think when that bill goes before committees, just to get onto those committees to make public comment. With public comment, please practice ahead of time so that you know what 2 minutes really is. Because if you spend 50 seconds introducing yourself and who you are, then you've only got a minute. You'll have to really hone your skills on why you're supporting it, what it can do, etc. And then getting off so that you have more people. So 2 minutes, practice it.
Great advice. Thank you, Senator. So I'm going to go into one of the first things that we just wanted to talk with you about, and that's going to be the Green Amendment. We've heard you in a previous interview with Retake Democracy talk about the language in the bill. Do you think you can clarify what you meant by the language?
You know, I was not thinking of any individual language. I was just reflecting the work that this group has done. We already have a provision in our Constitution about protecting the environment. It's not good enough. So this Green Amendment will really replace that, put it in a better part of the statutes in the Civil Rights Act. So that's all it was. We're working on the language. I didn't mean, and everybody is focused on this, and it makes me think, now don't be saying things like that again, because everyone misunderstood what you said. So there's nothing against the Green Amendment. I was just talking about the process we had been going through.
Thank you for clarifying that with us, Senator. Can you tell us what you feel is the probability of this bill being passed this session, and what kind of obstacles you might see in the way of this bill moving forward?
You know, so it'll be a constitutional amendment. That means that we need a majority of those elected. So we need 22 votes in the Senate, and we need 36 in the House. I don't really see any problem getting those votes in either body. Of course, the biggest problem will be that the oil and gas industry may say, this cuts us out. We don't want to say, yes, it does. But, that's one of the goals. So it'll come from the oil and gas industry, and we'll just have to be strong and stand up. And I don't see a problem with us passing it.
That's wonderful to hear, Senator. And it sounds like our 2-minute and it sounds like our 2-minute public comment in support of this bill could really help.
Yes. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about public banking of New Mexico with you. We've heard from Paul Saul, he's the president, Credit Union Associations of New Mexico, and community banks are in support of this bill. Are you in support of this bill, and how do you feel that this bill will pass?
So I don't know enough about it. And so I'm undecided. I had a long meeting with the community banks, and they are not in favor of this bill. I mean, they kind of don't understand why we would undermine them. And I've tried to say, well, I don't know that that's what it does. I'm looking for my notes from that meeting, which is why I'm rifling through here. Might be in a different folder. So essentially, we have one state bank in the country. In is it North Dakota or South Dakota? It's North Dakota. It's one of the Dakotas. And that bank works really well. They like it, but it was created in 1959, 1939. This is why I'm looking for my notes. A long time ago. And since then, the federal government will not insure these state public banks. They're not insured. They don't care about that now because they're so much a part of the banking industry. But the community banks are concerned that a state bank would pull business from them. Probably would. I don't really know. So I'm just not sure about it yet. I know we had a public bank bill in the House. The now Speaker Egolf, then Representative Egolf, had it. We didn't pass that. There were legal issues with it in the Judiciary Committee, if I remember it correctly. So I'm just not sure yet about this bill.
Thank you, Senator. You know, and I see in our audience today, I have Sarah Manning here. She's an advocate for public bank, and maybe you can help us, Sarah, understand where possibly a state public bank could help credit unions and community banks.
I'd be happy to. Thank you. And Senator Stewart, I'm really glad to hear what your concerns are, because I think there is a lot of misunderstanding. And at the Alliance for Local Economic Prosperity, we have been working on education. And so that education of the public about what a public bank would do. So to begin with, it is the Credit Unions Association that is supportive of the public banks for reasons that you have just discussed. The misinformation within the Community Banking Association is rampant. Would like to point out to you a couple of things. True, the Public Bank of North Dakota, the Bank of North Dakota, was founded in 1919, a very different time than what we have now, a very different economic situation. In the last several years, even the community banking people will tell you that we have lost community banks throughout our state. We only currently have about 34 of them. And the public bank would work through credit unions, CDFIs, and then also community banks. And the way it would work is it would not take deposits from individuals. So it in fact will not be eligible for FDIC insurance, because FDIC insurance only covers individual deposits. Since the bank would have no individual deposits, that whole insurance wouldn't apply. What would apply is that the bank would be backed by the full sovereign wealth of the state of New Mexico. And you know much better than I do what that is. But the public bank would work by taking deposits from our state, including our revenues, and would make loan programs with community input and with local bank community input, so that these loan programs would be administered through the community banks and credit unions, which in effect will increase the deposits in the community banks, which allows them to make more loans. That's one of the way banks work. It's the primary way that banks work. And so we think this is going to increase the health of all of our banks, including the community banks. We also think this is going to increase jobs at the very local level, because there will be more lending available to local enterprises, to towns for infrastructure needs, but mostly it will drive the ability to get money not on a one-term basis in terms of grants, because they won't be grants, they will be loans. So they will be legally enforceable. They're not gifts at all, but these would be loans that would be flowing into our communities at the local level, and that will increase GRT taxes, it will increase employment, and it will increase the well-being of our communities. And I will make sure that you do have additional information from our team. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you for correcting me, because I believe I did also say that the community banks were in support of it. So thank you for clarifying and giving me a better understanding of what this bill will do for us. So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Colton to talk about this paid sick leave. Colton?
Good morning.
Let me first start off by saying I'm the Senate sponsor of the paid sick leave bill. So you don't have to do too much lobbying.
Thank you, Senator.
Wonderful.
Your you're sponsoring the paid sick leave bill.
Yeah, this is the one that Representative Chandler and Representative Eli are doing in the House. So it's the one that was brought to me by the United Food and Commercial Workers, Greg Frazier. We've been working on it for a number of months. It's in real good shape and it will be pre-filed.
Wonderful. One of the things discussing with people in the community, we've been led to believe that there may be more than one paid sick leave bill in either the Senate or the House, and that there may be an effort to try to consolidate them into one single bill. And so I just kind of wanted to share a little bit of personal experience. I am a paramedic and I work for a major healthcare employer in New Mexico that does offer paid sick leave, but with strings attached. We do not have separate sick leave from PTO. It's all just PTO. And also policies that if you should call in sick, you get what is called an occurrence. After a certain amount of occurrences, you get a memo, and after a certain amount of memos, you get a write-up, and this can affect your raise, this can affect promotions, it could even lead to termination eventually. This has led to complications when people have sudden emergencies where they use up all the PTO in their bank. Then they have to apply for emergency PTO. But a few coworkers of mine that I've known have had this sudden emergency. They run up their occurrences and then they get into what is called a loss of good standing. So then they don't qualify for the emergency PTO. And the point of this story is to just demonstrate that even companies that are currently offering paid sick leave may not be in the best interest of the employee. Very often, I went to work before the pandemic. I was running a little bit of a fever. I had a little bit of a cough. I didn't want to get an occurrence. I hope that after the pandemic, that culture has changed, especially in healthcare, but it has yet to be determined. Fortunately, this employer has backtracked on that policy during the pandemic, but I have to wonder, in the past, how much illness may have been inadvertently spread by staff wanting to avoid an occurrence, saving it for a real emergency, so to speak. So as you in the Senate and in the House work to consolidate these bills, I would really encourage you to try to figure out where a good standard can be applied, not just to the companies that don't offer any paid sick leave, but also to companies that do, because not only is paid sick leave essential, across the board, especially regardless of business size. If a company only has 5 employees, that person that needs a day, they need a day. They don't need half a day. If they have 100 employees and one person needs a day, they still need a day. So I would just encourage to try to find a way that would give accountability to companies if they are not operating in the best interest of their staff, as well as kind of fixing holes that have been laid bare by the pandemic. And just curious how you may go about consolidating those bills or finding some of those solutions.
Well, so, and Representative Chandler is also carrying this one. There's another bill that's a family and medical leave time off, paid time off. So it's more complicated. It has to track with the federal government. She's just not sure that she will really push that one. They in the House now, they're limited to 5 bills. We don't have that limited in the Senate, but we're just having to limit what we're doing anyway, just because we're going to be there so less time. So I thought there were 2 paid sick leave bills, but I'm not sure there are. I think the 2 bills are paid sick leave and then this family and medical leave. So we have written the sick leave bill, the paid sick leave bill, so that it can be taken for illness in your family, mental health. We have put restrictions in there on businesses so they can't do what you're talking about, with more accountability. And yeah, some companies offer it, but this bill would require them to. So I think it will do, if we can get it passed and signed, I think it will do what you're suggesting, that there needs to be more accountability and that there needs to be parameters on these companies, which this bill allows. Now it's going to be pre-filed. So, we're going to start January 4th. We will pre-file between January 4th and January 15. So I encourage you to go onto the website and read those bills. I could certainly send the draft I have to someone. Tiffany, I could send it to you. I have your email, and then you could share it with others. I think it's a good bill, but I'm happy to take comments or suggestions on it. As I say, I'm the primary Senate sponsor, but it will start in the House.
Yes, thank you, Senator. And if you could please send it to me so that we could support your bill and read it. That's wonderful. Thank you.
I will do that.
So I'm going to pass it over to Pete. We had some questions about the small loan interest rate cap reduction. So Pete.
Can you hear me, Tiffany?
We hear you just fine. Thanks, Pete.
Oh, great. Okay. Senator, the small loan cap reduction bill is long overdue, and it is certainly a D6 priority. We have many, as you are aware, low-income families, military families living within our boundaries. And my goodness, to charge folks in need of money 175% is beyond the pale. We're glad to see that the bill is proposing a federal rate of 36%. The other thing that certainly upsets me and many constituents within D6 is the fact that 85% of these lenders don't live in our state. They're from out of state, and they're reaping the benefits of a flawed system. And we're really hoping that this bill will pass. And we find that when you take a loan and you get in trouble, they recommend you get another loan, and it just puts our families and our military families in particular at risk. Esther, I think you have a personal story, do you not?
Esther, can you share with us a personal story that you have experienced with? You're gonna have to.
Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Yes, we can now.
Okay. Senator, I had a friend that came to me, a friend from my church, and she wanted to discuss her financial situation. It turns out that she had two small loans, and she wanted or was considering taking out a third loan to pay those two loans off. I was just appalled to see that third loan would have doubled her interest rate that she had on the first two. And we, thank goodness, eventually were able to get her out of the mess she had found herself in. But my first thought was, why do we allow these companies to take advantage of the most vulnerable in our state? And I'm sure there's a lot of other stories like this one. To me, it's just, well, I won't give my personal view on it, but it's very important that this bill passes. Pete mentioned 36% interest rate caps would deter a lot of predatory lenders. And it's important that this bill passes the Finance Committee and goes to the floor for a vote. Your appointment of the chair of this committee is key to the bill passing. How do you see this playing out?
Well, I hate these payday lenders. I've hated them for a long time. I had two bills in the House. Again, to have 36% seems like an outrageous amount
It does.
already. So I just, this issue is just so troubling, has been for a long time. So my bills in the House didn't make it. Patty Lundstrom's did, and she barely changed anything. So in this 175% was like, oh, well, this is reform. Well, no, it isn't. It's maybe a little tiny bit. So I don't know who has this bill. I definitely support it. I'm sure it will now pass our caucus. I'm sure it's going to pass the committees that we're going to send it to, because I am changing those committees. So the chair on the committees is going to be less significant because of the changes on the committees. If you have a bad chair, but you don't have a good committee, then that bad chair continues. So it's not just the chair, it's the committees themselves. So this might wind up to be one of our highest priorities. We've got a lot of high priority bills.
I know.
But I certainly want this to pass. And I'm just thrilled that we seem to finally have the caucus to do it. So if you know, is it Bill Souls that's carrying this? I think it's Bill Souls.
I'm not sure. Do you know, Tiffany? I'm not sure who's carrying it, Senator.
Yeah, right now I don't know who's carrying it. It looks like Think NM was helped writing this bill, but I don't know who's carrying or sponsoring the bill.
Okay.
This is Ray Ellen. I'm pretty sure it is Bill Souls. I got that from another source.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you,
that's
Ray.
good. It's good that we have a primary Senate sponsor. Yeah, this is, as I said in the beginning, we've got a window to pass bills that we've needed to pass for a long time, and this is one of them. So I'm very hopeful that this will pass this time.
Well, I'm also concerned, as I mentioned earlier, about the health security campaign and our new bill that takes into account the setup process for 2 years. How do you see that playing out in this session?
And I just don't know about this. You know, I was in the House when Lucky Varela and Max Call started this.
Yeah.
I certainly voted for it there. I have heard real conflicting results of how much it will cost. There's been several studies, and none of the studies agree with each other. They're all over the map. But nevertheless, I think the shape that the bill is in now, setting up the process and moving forward, is a good one. So anybody know who's carrying that one?
Yes, Jerry Ortiz-Pino and Debbie Armstrong.
So will it be started in the House or the Senate?
In the House.
In the House, okay.
Yeah, we were considering starting it in the Senate, but I think the last decision was to start it in the House. And as far as the cost, one of the things that this bill allows for is that in the 3rd year of setup, that's when the real cost analysis is going to come in and show us exactly what it costs, because you can't predict the cost, 4 or 5 years ahead of when it's set up. And so we feel very confident, especially with the changes in the Senate, that we have a better chance.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, if we can get it over to us from the House, um, again, it's this issue of how many of these bills can we do? And I don't, I, I think this is on the same list as all the others, is let's see if we can get it passed this time.
Okay, one of the questions that came to me on chat is there any more specificity on the setup? And no, that's what this board is going to do during this next 2 years, is to work on this exact setup of the plan. So no, there's no more detail on how it's going to be set up. That's what the board will do. And my final comment is, I've been trying to get a hold of you, and I don't know if I have the wrong phone number for you, but I sent you an email yesterday to invite you to have a similar meeting at Albuquerque Interfaith. So if you would check your email, I'd
I
appreciate.
already responded, Esther, to your email.
Oh, okay.
I responded to it yesterday.
All right, thank you. And thank you very much. Tiffany?
Thank you, Esther. So Senator, I wanted to ask you about the comprehensive tax and revenue reform. New Mexico's long overdue for a reform in this area, but can you tell us a little bit more about what possibly could be in the bill, what it could look like if it does pass, and the chances of it moving forward and how we can help with that?
So I think what has a better chance of passing is the low-hanging fruit. So we ruined our progressive income tax under Richardson. We just ruined it. It's just embarrassing what we did with it. And finally, there have been 2 studies. I heard one a few days ago that is, it's looked at this idea of lowering income taxes for the very wealthy, thinking that they will then invest it and grow more jobs. That is a lie.
Yes.
Of course, many of us have known that, this idea of trickle down, I call that piss on them, because that's more what it is. So I know 2 people with a bill to reinstate that more progressive income tax, increasing the rates on the upper income. Certainly capital gains is another just boondoggle under Richardson. So supposedly that's going to grow jobs. That was just a giveaway. So we're looking at that. We're looking at, of course, legalizing adult use cannabis should bring in money eventually, but an overall reform package where we're dealing with the gross receipts, et cetera, is too big of a lift for this session. We will have significant bills to try to raise revenue, but I don't think we've got the time and the inclination to really attack the gross receipts tax issue. That tax is the envy of many states because we tax goods and services. The problem is that it's a pyramiding tax on small business. That's what we have to work on. We have to try to reduce the tax burden on truly small businesses. Of course, the corporate income tax under Martinez and the previous speaker just got whacked. There's a bill to reinstate that. So we're taking it not as a comprehensive, but we're going to try to get that low-hanging fruit this time. And hopefully next year after we do that, and after we're back to normal in a year, hope to God, then we will be able to do a more comprehensive look at the gross receipts tax.
Thank you, Senator. And I love hearing you speak so strong words about the falsehoods of trickle-down economics, it's refreshing to hear straightforward, this isn't working and it's a lie that it ever will.
Yeah. Well, I believe in speaking the truth. Sometimes the truth is hard to hear, but not when it comes to this. We're pretty united on tax reform, although we still have plenty of members that are moderate or conservative, but we only need 22. We can lose 5. So I'm already starting to count some of those 5 on certain issues. But you know, as long as we've got our solid 22 there, we'll be okay.
Thank you, Senator. So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. I just wanted to ask this question about the ETA amendment. And I know that you sponsored the ETA that passed in last session. And how do you feel about the ETA amendment bill?
I do not want to vote for the ETA amendment bill. I think it's the premise behind it is inaccurate. The ETA will save ratepayers money, $6, $7, $8 a month going forward. By doing the ETA the way we did, we've created $40 million to help those indigenous communities to retrain mine workers into reclamation or clean energy. The PRC, we had to take them to court and we did it twice. And finally they, okay, I guess you passed the law, we'll have to implement it. So they've already approved massive solar and wind energy, renewable energy in that San Juan Basin. So the ETA is working. There is no reason that it needs to be amended. They are wrong in saying that taxpayers, ratepayers, funding, the rates will go up. They're wrong about that. So did you read the op-ed in the Santa Fe, New Mexican a couple of days ago, debunking all those issues? So I don't believe we're going to pass those amendments. They're not needed. They're harmful.
Thank you, Senator. And as you know, I'm not sure if you know, but some of you do know, I did work with Claudia Reisner during her campaign, and I feel like I would do a disservice to her by not bringing up rural infrastructure and getting broadband and making sure that we have good cell service to all of New Mexicans. Can you talk about possibly some of the bills that could be proposed and how we could really support our rural communities in New Mexico?
Well, what I want to do is use some of our reserves. We have so much money in reserves. We passed 5 years ago, we passed the Tax Stabilization Act, and it just too much money. It took away from our ability to spend so much. $1.6 billion is in reserves from the Tax Stabilization Act. So what I want to do is use some of that non-recurring money for broadband. I mean, broadband, it's tricky, it's difficult, it's hard because it's public and private. And it's companies that are for-profit companies that are doing our broadband service. So they, you know, they need to make money or they won't do it more. You saw the paper where the federal rural infrastructure is giving $160 million to New Mexico over 10 years to do that kind of infrastructure. So to me, that's what we need. I would like just to take some of the reserves, put it into a broadband pot, and then find some way to distribute it out. We do have a work group on broadband. They are working on how we move forward. It's this pandemic has just really pulled the scab off the US and has shown these inequities and these issues that we have. And broadband is one of them, but it's not an easy thing to do. We have a bill, I passed a bill a number of years ago that gave us 10 million a year from the public school capital outlay funds for broadband in the schools. Well, then the federal government increased the E-rate up to 80%. And so we were able to use that money from the public school capital outlay to help districts create a 5-year plan with this 80% payment from the federal government. So the schools have broadband and have internet. The issue really is individual families that don't have it. I mean, I live near Grant Middle School. There are these huge apartments. There's over 100 middle schoolers in those apartments. There's no internet in any of those apartment complexes. So I worked with APS, and they've been, having a bus with broadband hotspots go and park in the parking lot for 8 hours a day. But what happens at night when kids want to do their homework and et cetera? So it's complicated. And do we have to try to solve it? Yes, we do. And does it mean more money? Yes, it does. So I'll be interested in hearing what the broadband group comes up with to see if there are more requirements we need to put in place. It's not that we need a bill. We just need these companies to do this. And, that means money. So I think it's just a pot of money is what we need personally.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to ask one other question, another question in another direction, but I feel it's also just as important in the rural community is community solar. We'd love to see the community solar, and it's not in our top 15 priority bills that I sent you, but it is in one of our top, let's say 40 priority bills. And I'm sure all of us have even more than 40 that we'd love to see passed. Like you said, we have a great opportunity to get a lot of good things passed this session. So how do you feel about community solar and the possibility of it going through this session?
Well, I really want us to get community solar. I've been looking at Colorado for years. They've had community solar for 10 years. It works well. So part of the issue here is that there's a sort of a dichotomy between the companies that aren't here yet that are trying to help us pass community solar so that they can come here and do it for us. Now they're like little mini utilities. So the other side are the investor-owned utilities. We have 3 of them, or even the co-ops. They're going to want to make money too. This is a money-making venture. And so I'm hoping we have reached that divide between the two, because the reason the Energy Transition Act was so phenomenal, one of them, was that we had a huge coalition and we worked for an entire year. I talk about these committee meetings as mind-numbing because it was all this stuff about P&M and Excel and how things really worked for them. So once we reached across and they came on board, the bill just became an incredible bill. I want that to happen with community solar, and I'm not sure they're there yet. It doesn't make any sense for us to create something that the companies that are here right now can't be part of. And that's some of the minutia of the bill. We've had this whole working group. So we might be ready to do it. I'm going to hear about that tonight at caucus. But I definitely want us to do it. It's just a matter of getting the right bill.
Thank you, Senator. So it sounds like we need to build more support and relationships to really prop up community solar and similar to the way you expressed the coalition that was built around the ETA. And so thank you for talking about that with us. I wanted to talk a little bit about the rules within the Senate. And is there any way that we can stop Republicans from using obstacles to slow down the passing of legislation? We're talking about the filibuster rule, and if there's other Senate rules that maybe we could do to move a little faster with getting these bills through.
Well, it's not the Senate that you need to worry about, it's the House. So I'm a little worried about the new Senate Republican leadership. The new Republican leadership is kind of now, they're more divisive. The threesome is more divisive than the threesome we've been working with for years. So I am concerned about what they're going to do. And not only that, but we inherited 2 House Republicans, one of whom is just known to be the biggest flamethrower of anybody. It's who Claudia tried to beat. So we're concerned about that. And we're kind of afraid that those House members are going to bring that more loud, divisive filibustering over. But you can't just take away all of the minority ability to have their say. It doesn't work like that. And if we try to rein them in, I would never hear the end of it. It would just be a constant battle. So the best thing I can say is that we've got 27 pretty good Democrats, and we only need 22 to pass anything off the floor of the Senate. And if we have to wait out their ridiculous filibusters, we will do that. We know how to pass bills. We know better in the Senate how to withstand minority plays, if you will. So although I'm more worried about it than I've been in the past, just because of the new leadership, I'm less worried because of who we've got now in our caucus. Because before, there were already 5 or 6 that would go with the Republicans fairly consistently on the bills that we want to pass that haven't passed. The payday lender, the abortion bill, the land grant permanent fund. I mean, it just goes on and on. But we don't have that now. So really, it's a matter of giving them their due respect, putting them on the committees they want within reason, and listening to the debate, and very articulately and calmly and with the higher ground, counter that debate and then pass the bills. That's what you do.
Thank you, Senator. So we have a little bit of extra time, so I did want to apologize to the attendees. I didn't think we were going to have this extra 10 minutes, and so I did start taking a few questions off of the chat versus the agenda. So thank you, Senator, and to the attendees for being so flexible with us towards this last 20 minutes that we've had. And like I said in the beginning, Senator, we're really here also because we want to build a relationship with you. And, is there, besides what you've talked about with the public comment, which I believe that we will definitely practice our public comment and have it prepared for you, what else can we do in other bills that you are sponsoring? I did hear that you were working on some education bills. Is there something that you could tell us about that and how we can help you?
Oh, the education bills I'm doing are sort of the more pedantic, cleanup, technical, none of them are very much fun. And they're not bills like the ones we've talked about today that, we've tried to pass and, they'll make an immediate difference. They're more trying to deal with the, continuing to deal with the Yazzie Martinez lawsuit, trying to get more multicultural curriculum and training. The biggest work I've been doing is not on a bill, it's on the structured literacy and dyslexia screening that we finally now have. So I am doing one fairly big education bill that will have a lot of ramifications. And that is, I am carrying the bill that undoes the credit for the impact aid and half mill levy and forest reserve. So it's become an equity issue. It's just become too big of a political football. And so I'm finally at the place where we're just going to change it. So I've been working with the budget committee to do that. So we have money in the budget to hold harmless the districts that will be impacted. And so that's my biggest education bill. I do have a bill also that requires that when we go back to school full time, hopefully in the fall, that districts can choose either 10 days, 10-day longer school with an extended learning program, or an elementary school can do 25 days for K-5 plus. So right now, both of those programs are very voluntary. This bill would say choose one or the other and just let's move forward with it. Those two programs really are what the Judge Singleton said. These programs are really great and they have proven record of improving students' achievement, but you don't offer them to everyone who needs them. So this would offer them to everybody who needs them.
Yes, thank you, Senator. I do have a daughter that was in APS middle school here, and it sounds very similar to the programs that they were asking parents and teachers to vote on last year within the APS system of extending our year by 10 versus 20. So it sounds very similar. And I know that it didn't pass by the parents, and there was a lot of, I would say, misinformation of understanding how the year-round program would be. Yeah. So it's good to hear that that's something that can be offered statewide and that there's another chance to have that happen.
Yeah, yeah. And it won't happen unless we're going back to school in person. I mean, there's no reason to do more online. You know what I mean? It's like,
yes. Yeah, for all the parents who have kids at home, it is a challenge to work and have your kids be at school. And
no, yes. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. I'm grateful that we at least have this, but we're going to have a huge learning loss, and we've kind of lost track of about 20% of our students. I mean, it's really bad. So got to get them back to school.
Yeah, 20% I think is a scary number when I think about, a graduating class of 20% less than last year.
Yes, yes, yes.
Senator, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity this morning. This was a wonderful experience for all of us to get together and talk with you and discuss things that are really important to us here in your state and in your Senate district. And so I would love to have another opportunity to talk with you about some bills that are important to you as you start going through the process before the session. So if you have another hour with us, I would love to have an hour with you and we can meet again. And hopefully we can also meet after session and discuss the breakdown of how things went and what we learned from this session and how to move forward and prepare for the next one.
Absolutely. The first part of January would be the best time. I need to take a little break, or I'm going to be even crankier than I get. I started at 8 this morning on Zoom, and I end tonight at 8 on Zoom, and I've got 30 minutes in the middle of the day. And that's it. Now, this is the worst day yet, but but anyway, it's been very fun for me, and it's interesting to meet you all and hear from you all. And so I'm happy to do this again in January and then after.
Thank you, Senator. I will email you and schedule a time with you. I do appreciate it. And I know that your day is packed and you've been doing training and, you've been up from 8 going all the way probably till 8 in the evening. So thank you for giving us this time during the holidays, and especially during a time when you have so much planning and interviews and preparation to prepare for. We're very
Thank you.
fortunate.
You know, I did not have a chance to look at the chat at all, so I apologize for any questions I did not answer, but you can always email me, senmimistewart@gmail.com.
We will put that in the chat right now. And I had a few questions come to me by email that I will also forward to you, Senator, from some other attendees.
Okay,
Wonderful.
thank you all. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
your
Senator.
work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
It's very impressive to see you all. It's very cool.
Thank you.
Very
Senator.
hopeful. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Senator.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.